This video is going to be a bit of a review while also being a bit of a rant. I want to talk about the RodeCaster video. Now, there are plenty of videos out there about the RodeCaster video. This is a combination device where it's part audio processor and it's part video switcher. Now, what is a video switcher? It's only been out, I don't know, maybe 3 weeks, 2 or 3 weeks now. And I picked one of these up. This is something that has been almost exactly what I have been waiting for about 2 years. So there are a few caveats. There are a few things that I wish were a little different, but overall, I'm really loving this device. And there are a lot of people that keep saying things like it's not for everyone. And I agree that it is not for everyone. You need to find how you need to use it and make that assessment. So anyway, before I get into this, I'm going to show you what this thing can do. This isn't going to be a deep dive into how to use this thing or what it can do. I'm just going to show you how I use it and how I plan to use it for teaching. So here I can show you what a video switcher will do. I can change cameras, so I can switch from this camera to this camera, and pardon, this camera that's pointing down to show the RodeCaster video. And I can change to, different views depending on where I have a camera. And this makes for recording a class a lot easier. So I can even show my computer desktop and record that. It can do a bit more here as well, so I can add different scenes. So if I choose that, I can show my computer desktop while, hang on, let me line myself up here, while showing my face. I can quite easily switch this on the fly. If I'm doing a little demo, I want to show something here, I can change things up quite easily. And you can do this using software, but I prefer hardware, and I'll talk about that a little more. So here's like a split screen, and I can customize all these where I can, hang on, let me get myself in here. I need to readjust them to how I'm going to use them. But as you can see, you can do lots of things here by choosing different cameras. I can choose different overlays. So there's a little, a little pause, a little video that'll play, and get this one. Okay, so this is just to show you what this thing can do. And it also records great audio. On the back of the device, it has XLR inputs, so you can use a dynamic mic. You can record up to 4 cameras. Again, I don't really want to go into in depth what this does, because that's not really what I want to talk about in this video. If you know anything about it, you have heard what it can do a million times. If you don't know what it can do, watch some of the other videos that I'll leave linked below, and it'll tell you all the things. But in a nutshell, it can record up to 4 cameras, but then one of the innovative things that they had is now it can record a webcam, and that's what I have. Hang on, here I've plugged a webcam into it. I've also plugged this thing into my RodeCaster Duo, which is totally unnecessary, but I already had the device. I'm still not sure if I'm going to try to sell it or not. So here's kind of the rant. A lot of people have been talking about how it's overpriced. And I disagree. Yes, it's expensive at $1,200. And yes, I would prefer it if it was cheaper. There's no question about that. I would prefer to pay $5 for the thing, but they need to make money. As a freelancer, I don't know how many times I've quoted a person a price and they go, oh, that's too much, I don't want to pay that. And at a certain point, you end up losing money. So you need to pay a fair price in order to have this company to continue to develop these innovative products. So I am fine with the price. Again, it's expensive, so therefore it's not for everyone. But saying that, I think if you really like the device, you can wait a while, because maybe in another 6 months or a year, there'll be tons of knockoffs. There'll be other companies copying what this thing can do. And then you can pick it up. or once they come out with these other devices, the price of this may come down. When they come out with a new device that does this in 8K, or sorry, 4K, the price will come down. It's just the cycle. And if you can't afford it, just be patient and wait. There are other options out there. Well, I've been using this device, and this is called an ATEM Mini Pro. And this has done well for me, but I've been thinking about switching to the ATEM Mini Pro ISO. By recording ISO, it records each channel individually. And this device here does not do that. And again, like I said, they have the ATEM Mini Pro ISO for about $500. I believe this one cost me about $300. And again, when this came out, it had a higher price tag, and the price came down as the competition stiffened. So I expect to see the same from the RODECaster video. So the price, even if it's too expensive for some now, is not a big deal. But anyway, the ISO would record each channel individually. So then I don't have to worry about switching these cameras. All four of these can be cameras, but I use one for the computer desktop, and the other three will be cameras. And I can switch these by tapping the buttons. And if I'm doing this when I'm talking, I can easily switch to different cameras. It's quite easy. But the thing is, sometimes I do these tutorials where I'm drawing. And you get lost, sometimes I'm talking, I get lost in a drawing, and I don't remember to switch. Now this thing, I can plug an SSD drive into this, and I can record. And it will record the whole session with all the cuts that I make. But the problem that I have is sometimes it's hard to remember, oh, I just switched from my hands. So now as I'm drawing, oh no, I forgot to switch back to my face when I was talking. So I wanted to get the ISO version of this. And the ISO version is about, I believe, about $500, $495 or something like that. And I think that's a great device. All right, so what exactly is ISO? If you know what ISO is, just skip forward. But ISO stands for isolated recording. And what that means is, this is what it looks like in the system. Is right here, this is the recording in this folder here. And you can see right here, it says default. And if I click on that, it just plays straight through, and it's just a single line all in one. Whereas this one, when I bring this in, it comes in as camera 1. You can see it never cuts. It's just me talking the whole way. And then this one, camera 2, is a separate camera, and it just shows me talking the whole way. And this just makes for a huge flexibility when it comes to editing. The other way is quicker because I edit on the fly, and then I don't have to go back and change things. And this is my computer desktop. What I like about this is it's all one package. If I decide I want to take this to school, I can very easily plug everything in and start the video. Another thing that this does that I like is, it also records onto an external SSD drive. That's what this little green button means. If I unplug this, you can see the green light goes out. And when I plug it back in, it's telling me that it can record. I'm just going to sit that down here. And there you go, the green light. So I can record these different tracks, and I can edit it later. The nice thing is I recently had a class online, and normally I would record it in Zoom, but I hate recording in Zoom because the quality isn't the best. A lot of consumers are complaining because it's not 4K, and 4K is the future. Yes, it would be nice to have 4K to future-proof this thing, but I'm happy with the 1080p. And most TVs and, when you watch TV, a lot of that stuff is just 1080p. So 4K is going above and beyond. There's also, you can't stream in 4K, so it's for the recordings. So I'm happy with the 1080p. The only thing is, there's one thing, is it records in 8-bit. And I'm not exactly sure, but 8-bit versus 10-bit, I wish it were 10-bit, because that would increase the colors. And if you start going in and messing with the color tinting, things can go bad. But as long as you expose everything the way I understand it, you won't have to, you won't have like washed out colors or what they call banding in, in your colors. You can look at the design. This does not look like their previous designs. This is more simplified, and this has a more simplified and refined look to it. So I don't think that this is like the Streamer X with these bright colors was marketed towards streamers, whereas this, you can see with these subdued colors, seems to be marketing. It seems to me that their target market is someone else. It still has those bright colors available. They're still in there, but they're much more subdued. So I think they're trying to reach a little. The streamers say, hey, if you want this, it still works with your aesthetic. But if you're someone else in a different situation, this may look a little more refined to you. Because me personally, I never particularly liked the look of the RODECaster Duo because of all the bright colors and the flashiness, and that's something that you associate with streamers, the bright colors, the neon, the RGB lights and all that sort of thing. Whereas this is clearly more refined. So I think if you look at the design, it is telling me that they know how they price this. The design of this, it's clear that this isn't targeted directly at streamers. I think they'll be coming up with something that is more targeted towards streamers, but I don't think this is it. But it will still work in that situation. This keeps me from buying a subscription. It's $1,200, but the way I see it is I can pay for an online service, and that's probably going to cost me about $40 a month. One of the big problems that I have with subscriptions today is you cannot turn off auto renew. You have to remember to go in and sign and uncheck it. And often when you get that auto renew, it saves you, it locks you into another year agreement. So me personally, I prefer things that don't require a subscription. If I'm doing this professionally and making money and I can afford to pay for it, I am perfectly fine paying for one of these online subscription services. But me, I prefer to have a device like this that I know I own it, it's mine, and if I stop using it, it's not going to be costing me any more money. And when if I decide to turn it back on, I can turn it back on, or I can sell it. It's in my control. And the way I see it is this would be paid for after 2.5 years. I mean, I'm a person who's never leased a car. My car, I bought it brand new and it's 10 years old. I don't have a car payment. And when I start having problems with that, then I'll go look for something else. For me, there is an initial outlay of price, but I don't have to keep paying. I don't get that surprise bill. If money gets tight, I don't have to worry about, oh no, in order to keep using this service, I have to keep paying. It's paid for. It's done. It's mine. In another video, I will show you how I use this device on Zoom, because you gotta get in there and tweak a few things in order to get the most out of this. So I will do that. That will be coming up. I really think this is a great investment if it is the right tool for you. I don't think most teachers are going to want to spend that money, but this is sort of my thing. I'm sort of I want to say a gear geek. I like to buy these things. I like to try it out. I like my classes to have a bit of showmanship. I like to have, I have my Stream Deck where I'm playing the sound effects. I like to cut scenes. I like to show the overhead, and I like it to happen seamlessly. And this device allows me to do that. Again, there are other ways that you can do this. There are other software devices out there that you can do this on. So in the past, I used OBS. And OBS is a free open source software that will do the same thing. It will actually do a job better than what you see here. But at the time, my computer wasn't up to date. But then I ran this software during a presentation, and it just locked up my computer. And after that, I've been afraid of using software to switch cameras. And after that happened, that's when I found the ATEM Mini, because this thing is a little computer. This is a computer in and of itself. This is not just a little box with buttons on there. All the processing and changing everything happens in this device. Therefore, if you don't have the strongest computer, something like this and something like this can take that processing off of your computer, and you don't have to worry about straining the computer, running other applications and things like that, because these devices will do the job for you. The interface, it looks kind of scary, because you look at this and you see this little screen here, and you can, navigate your way through. I can switch these things here and turn the dials here and change things up. But there's also software. So here I can adjust I can build different scenes. I can use the audio mixer, and if I click on that, that's what I get here. I can, these sliders here, I go up and down and change things here. But everything, the reason there's nothing going on here is because I still have the RODECaster Duo. Like I said, I'm not sure if I'm going to keep it or not, but everything is running there, and I have these physical sliders, which is nice. So I may keep it, but it's totally not necessary. I can run 2 mics through here. I can use 2 wireless mics, and if I choose with those 2 USB ports, I can use 2 Rode USB mics through there. So I can have up to absolutely 4 wired mics. I think I can add 2 wireless mics, but I never need to use that. There's just me here. I'm the only person here, so I don't need all that. And having this Duo is major overkill. But again, they have this integrated software, so if you don't want to navigate through this teeny tiny little menu, you can always use the software here. But one thing I do want to add is, when I got the Duo, I thought this was going to be very difficult because of that tiny screen. And now this one's even tinier. But Rode makes this amazingly intuitive software. Yes, there is a learning curve, but I find it incredibly intuitive and a quick study to learn how to use it. You just put in a little bit of time, and it is surprisingly intuitive to have such a teeny tiny screen. And I know some people who come from the ATEM family that I think is just a different way of thinking. So I've seen some people get frustrated using this software or the system, but personally, I find it very intuitive. Again, surprisingly intuitive for such a teeny tiny little screen. It's not for everyone. One of the things that the ATEMs have over the RODECaster is they have cameras, and you can control these cameras. So they have their own little ecosystem. And if you've invested in that ecosystem, if you have the cameras, absolutely, I would not switch if I were in that situation. But for me, I'm a single person who wants to control my webcast or my Zoom classroom, and I don't want to pay for online software. If my school pays for it, fine, I'll use it, but I don't want to pay for it. One really nice thing about this is I can have this recording my class, and then I can make the switches live, but then I'll have the individual cameras, the individual tracks, where I can go in and I can take each camera recording and re-edit the important parts of my class. I don't have to, be real particular. If I forget to make a switch, I can do that in post, as they say. But you can see here, it shows each of the cameras, each of the screens here. Hang on. So you can see here, there's my main camera here. And then I can switch to, there's my secondary camera, there's the overhead camera, okay? And then here is my computer screen, okay? So then I can use these switchers, I can use these scenes here. So now I can click here, And you can see that it will give me my computer desktop, since that's what I'm showing most of the time during my classes. I can switch from, my head, the talking head from right to left. And again, I created each of these scenes. This is not a default. You can make, they have presets you can use, but these are images that the way this is set up, I can change this. And then here's one, then I switch the overhead view with the scene. That'll drop in like that. And there's this sort of split screen, and I can switch this up quite a bit however I want. So it's quite versatile. It gives me a backup. All right, so the bottom line is, how do I use this as a teacher? I use this in Zoom, and now I do not have to record in Zoom if I don't want to. I get a better quality recording, and I can get a recording just as I, switch cameras in one track, and then I can get the individual tracks if I want to re-edit them. And that's also one of the downsides, that things that people don't like is on an ATEM you can get that information where it's active, and you can, using XML files. I'm not exactly sure how it works. That's one of the advantages of the ATEM over the RodeCaster video. Bottom line, as a teacher, the way I can use this is I can use this to actively change cameras during a Zoom call, okay, for my classroom. And it gives me a more interesting classroom effect, where I can switch to an overhead camera, I can switch to a room view, I can switch to a headshot quite easily. And it just makes for a more engaging classroom. At the same time, this device will record on an SSD separately. So if something happens with the Zoom call and I lose that information, or I just want better quality, it records it on a SSD on a separate device right here. And again, it is expensive, so it's not for everyone, but maybe if you're a teacher, you can talk your school into spending the money on something like this, because once it's set up, it can make your work much more efficient and more engaging in the classroom. So unfortunately, I don't have a button that says goodbye, so I'm just going to hit this button that says be back in 5 minutes, which I won't. But on that note, I'll see you all in the next video.